Okay. All right. All jokes aside, let's do it. Let's do the big announcement. Go ahead.
Big announcement, guys. Wow, you just tossed it back.
I can do it. I can do it. I don't know if you want to do it. I can do it.
I can do it. Or you can do it. It doesn't really matter. So, everybody knows we were lined up and going to C2E2. We did the CG triple threat and all that stuff. I got off. I had a phone call. For some reason, Reed wanted to get off record, and had a phone call with him. Some things were said.
Wait, what is Reed for those that don't know?
No, Reed is the company that runs C2E2, New York Comic Con, Emerald City Comic Con, and maybe one other one.
Like the number 2, 3, maybe 4 top shows in the United States.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And to preface this, me and John, I really should have started with it. We basically went through every channel and every handler that we've gotten passed off to, and I went back and looked at emails, and we were kind of guided into filling out our paperwork the way we did, and we basically done every single thing Reed's asked of us, and
dotted our I's, crossed our T's, said our prayers at night.
Yeah, may the Lord keep our soul to keep all that stuff, and all of a sudden there was like a sudden, we have to get on the phone. We have to get on the phone. And I was like, okay, this isn't good. So took a phone call with them, and they first tried to say that I basically did things wrong and broke the terms of service, which I said, no, you guys gave me badges, and John and Ethan and other people are going to get badges because the booth comes with like 10 badges. The exhibitor's booth.
Right. Ideally, it's Shane's booth, and we are his guests because they can only have one name on a booth. That's how it was explained to us, because initially it was Shane and I going in there, and it was going to be Secret Door and 9 Lives Comics on the booth, and they said, well, we can only have one. So I just said, Shane, put yours on there.
To be specific, the reason it could only be one is because they had to write one invoice. So that was how I look back. That's how we were guided into it just being consolidated into one LLC, which would have, John said, just use yours. It didn't really matter.
And that was because Shane already had the contact there. So Shane was already further in discussion than I was. So.
Yeah, it really didn't matter whose LLC it went to because we were both talking to them at the same time. It was just like, just use yours. So here we are now with a different person saying that I broke a rule, and I'm explaining to them, no, I didn't. They're just guests of the booth. And I'll be quite honest with everybody. Then the conversation switched to harassment. The accusations of they have a no harassment clause, and they can't have people attending the con of harassment and stuff like that. And that I would be getting a refund for the booth, and a letter would be following shortly. There was really not a lot else that could be said because the other part didn't stick. Like we did everything they asked us to do.
Right. So while you were on the phone talking about that we had done something wrong, and when you went and challenged that, that's when they kind of flipped the whole conversation into a harassment clause on their code of conduct.
Right. It switched to that. So I don't hear anything back from them. Instead, the following day, I get an email telling us more stuff to do because they're excited for the con and stuff like that from another department. So I kind of respond back to all and said, yeah, can't wait. I'm thinking like maybe this was just a rogue employee stepping off an email and just wanting to have it out with me, because it just seemed like the dude was just kind of said what he said, pretty much what I said. There wasn't really much more said. So I get off a plane, and there in my email, Yancey's calling me, is a letter that they wrote out, making it official to us by a different person, not the person I talked to that was yelling at me on the phone. It's signed off by some other lady who I've never dealt with at all. You know, they all have these titles that sound important, so I really don't know the pecking order or the tier of these people. I'm assuming she's kind of high up there though. So, and it basically said, and I sent a copy to John, and to be honest, I haven't really had a proper read through it. Like I've read through it only once on the computer screen. Everything else has been on my phone, and the document kind of skips around when I try to zoom in. But it basically was kind of in point the same as the letter, except when it got down to harassment stuff, it got very specific with you know, two people in point. That would be you and John, meaning John, and Ethan,
Right.
saying that because on the phone I'd even pressed him like, who did they harass? Who? And he just talked over me. So in the letter again, they don't really emphasize who's been harassed. They actually just say harassment and then try to put in parentheses, you know, race, gender, uh, whatever. I don't know if they said religion. Maybe they said religion. They just went through like a whole list in parentheses of all these different harassment things, but never any instance of it. Not one type of notation. Nothing. Right.
Right. Nothing
So after
specific.
talking to nothing specific at all.
I'm just going to tell people the line that they actually wrote, because they wrote the conduct of Mr. Skyver. They wrote Skyver, not Van Skyver. The conduct of Mr. Skyver and Mr. Malin, including but not limited to, quote, offensive verbal comments, unquote, in relation to, quote, race, color, national origin, gender identity, gender presentation, and sexual orientation, unquote, are indeed in violation of the code of conduct, therefore a breach of the C2E2 agreement order. And also they state that the code of conduct is not just for their show, it is for your entire life.
Yeah. So
it is all the time between the shows. At any time, if something bad happens to you, you say something out of line that is not politically aligned with what they believe politically, they can throw you out. And specifically, obviously the ones I latch onto are gender presentation. So basically, if you ever declare that you believe that a man is a man and a woman is a woman, C2E2, Reed, Expo can throw you out of the top shows in the industry like that. So just keep that in mind. That's the world we're not even that we're headed in. That's the world we live in right now. Like literally, we're literally in that world right now. That if you sit there and you just say, "Hey, a man is a man and a woman is a woman," it's something that is complete common sense, but it's not the politically correct verbiage of the modern day because some wackadoo said so. So even though everybody agreed on this 10 years ago, now it is grounds to throw you out and to stop you from making a living and presenting your product to an audience.
Right. And for people that don't know, we were going in like paying the bill of an exhibitor, which is a big bill, and we went through every step, deposits, everything. They're saying that they're sending me the check back. I did respond to them and asked, what does this mean about going to cons in the future events or whatever? Because they had some ambiguous line at the end that kind of made it sound like they would judge things down the road, and with the same guest. And then I said, "Is there a reference or I don't know, a victim behind this harassment, like a person who's been harassed? Basically, is there a reference point to that in particular of who complained about that?" And it seemed like there was something else I asked them. I can't remember top of my head. And we did get a response today. Yanzi hit me up earlier before the show, actually right before the show came on, and again they're trying to get off the record and get on the phone, and me and her both said everything's in writing from here on out. So yeah, I mean, I didn't know anything was wrong when I got on the phone with them the first time. It wouldn't have made any difference because everything that's written in the letter, and I contested it on the phone call every bit of the way, it is just what it is. Their decision was made even before they had the phone call. They said they were just doing me a courtesy of letting me know before I got the letter, which is I I don't know. Like, all this happened, and I was getting ready to get on the plane and stuff. I talked to John, talked to Ethan about it, I think yesterday, and when I had the letter officially, because that was the weird thing too. I was still getting emails like we were still going from different departments despite that, and we were still up on the site. We're not on the site anymore. As soon as I got the letter, we were pulled down off the site. So, thinking about it, it obviously looks like everything was fine with Reed. We got up on the site and somebody saw it, somebody didn't like it, somebody complained. And Reed took action because we went through all the channels. I even went back and looked. What they're saying I did is that I subleased things, which I didn't. Everything, I paid for the booth before we even read, I think, the campaign for the thing. It's all in my name. We were guided. I went back and looked in the email because they could only bill one LLC when we both approached them. They guided us just to put it into one name. We always asked how many badges we were getting. And on the phone, I even said, if there's an issue with John or Ethan, isn't that negligence on their point for not vetting who these badges go to? And he said, well, do you think you can just give these badges to anybody? And I was like, yes, because you didn't tell me who I can or can't give them to. You didn't tell me, you didn't ask names to vet. Like, if I go buy a C2E2 badge, they ask for your information and everything. Like, I have to present an ID to get the badge. Like, and so you don't know, they're actually looking for bad eggs when they do that. There's a reason they do that, for security. So I mean, I've dealt with Reed before in the past, and I did everything every step of the way that I was told to do. I just didn't go up to him and say, is this going to be a problem if this person or this person comes along? And oddly enough, John, you were there in the emails from the beginning, dealing with them on these emails with me. So, like, the fact that you are in this letter as a problem is really negligence in their part. If you were a problem, you should have been. They should have addressed that at the beginning.
Right away. Yeah. Instead, we go through the entire process of making the payment, securing the booth, and at no point was anybody hidden. Like, even when we listed who was going to be in the booth when it went up on that site, you guys remember we saw it. It said Ethan Van Sciver. It listed his credits. It said me. It listed my credits. It listed Shane. Like, at no point did we try to hide or get one under on C2E2. We did everything they wanted us to do in terms of what it took for us to get that booth together. Then I think that they basically, my guess is that harassment thing is just like this thing to kind of just make sure we get out the door.
The harassment's just like a fail-safe catch. Like, you could always just call somebody up for harassment.
Right. I've never been accused, tried, or convicted of harassing anybody in my life. There's like, go through my criminal record, show me where I've harassed somebody. Have some kind of fucking grounds when you call me a fucking harasser. Some kinds of fucking legal grounding when you're going to call me a harasser. Ridiculous.
Somebody in the chat asked a question that I'm going to have to address them, and I'm going to try to keep it in email. Somebody said, what about the fans who bought tickets? Honestly, I'm going to address that in the email, and that's right now the most I can do is do an email and say that we have fans that bought tickets and now they're asking what, that they should be, how do they go about refunds? I can fire that email off. I'll just get somebody trying to call me. I don't think they're going to address that. But I think that's fair. If they're going to go this far, they should honestly, if you guys want a refund on your badges, I don't know why they wouldn't give them, except that the window for selling badges is closed. But I feel like, honestly, they should do that. But I can't make them do that.
Yeah.
But I will address that. I will address that in the email. And whatever comes out of it, I'll be public with it.
Shane and I are still planning on going. We still have our rooms. We will still be in Chicago at the hotel right next to the convention center. It's the exact same hotel. We will be there. And SDA says LobbyCon. That's about it. We plan on meeting everybody there. If you're CG, whatnot, come on out there. We'll have a whole meetup there. Have a good time. I don't know how long Shane or I are planning on being there, but we're definitely going to be there, I would say, on Saturday. So if you guys are there Saturday, let's make kind of a plan on being there to meet up, have a good time. If you guys have the Graveyard Shift shirts or the Godlike, I will still be bringing a list, and I will still be buying you guys one beer, so a piece. Not like to share, just a piece. So we're going to still be there. And then Shane and I are working on a plan to get out to another show.
Hang on. Wooden Shot goes, oh, for fuck's sake, it took an hour to say we're still going. It took an hour to explain the circumstances of us getting a booth yanked out from under us.
We haven't even been on an hour. We've been talking about for 5 minutes.
Great. Yeah. Anyways, no, me and John plan on going, but we are probably not going into the con. I don't have a badge. John doesn't have a badge. Our badges were attached to the table.
Remote.
So I doubt we'll get let into the con at all.
We can't buy a badge. So
no.
Anyways, but we will be there. This is something that I said when we started the crowdfund for the Triple Threat. I said, guys, no matter what, I will be there. So I wanted to encourage people to show up. But I also said, be sure that you're going, because there are likely other comic skaters that are going to be there in Artist Alley. Go out there, support those guys. Let's help make them some money. But everybody else can go F themselves, basically. It's a sign of the times and where we are. Still today, people say cancel culture is not happening. I had numerous people tell me, when I was telling them about the possibility of us being ejected from this show, and they were just like, it's not going to happen. It just happened. So we're going into an election year again. Politics is going to become another big hot button issue. And basically, if you are an open Trump supporter, and if you believe that a man is a man and a woman is a woman, that's going to decide where you can do business. And it shouldn't. It's not like any of us plan on going to C2E2 and holding up signs from our booth saying men are men and women are women. We are not there for politics. We are there for fucking business. And we are being stopped from doing business. It's just a fucking ridiculous situation.